And welcome back here to another edition of the Big Man's Report live on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. I hope you guys are all having a great week. If you happened to miss my show last week, I had on two guests from New York, two funny guys, comedians out of New York, video creators who do a lot of content on their Instagrams, their TikTok, their YouTube channels. And also they have a movie coming out called Avenue U. With some people and some actors that you might know and you've seen before. So they have a lot of great content coming out. We had a great conversation. We had a lot of laughs and a lot of good things on last week's show. So that'll be released shortly on my YouTube channel this week. And also you'll just stay tuned to my Instagram page as always for updates following that show with Tony Slice out of New York and Big Joe Gambino out of New York as well. So gentlemen, it was a great show, and thank you guys for coming on. And we look forward to having our audiences see that show in a couple days when everything's finally uploaded. But tonight's show, I'm going to get to my guest in just one moment. I'm going to introduce him. I'm very delighted to have him on, and it's a pleasure that he was able to make it on the program. I met this individual a few years ago at my old stomping grounds at Memories in Margate. R.I.P. to the great Geeter with the Heater, Jerry Blavitt. Worked security there for Jerry for many years, as all of you guys know. And I had the pleasure of meeting some wonderful people along the way in my ventures there with Jerry. And one of the individual that we're going to talk with tonight knew Jerry very well as his father. And we're going to have a great conversation about his life and music and acting. So without further ado, I'd like to take this time to introduce my main man, Mr. Bobby Brooks Wilson. Bobby, how are you tonight?
I'm great, man. How you doing, Blake?
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
No problem, brother. Glad to be here.
Our man Geeter. I mean, let's talk a little bit about how we met at Memories in Margate. I had the pleasure of meeting you a couple times when you came in to see Jerry. You had some local shows. What can you say on behalf of Jerry? It's been unbelievable.
Man, the Geeter with the Heater, man. I mean, what can you say, man? He's a legend. He was a living legend, and it's just really hated that he had to transition. Jerry did a lot for me. Jerry introduced me really to the East Coast. He's the one that threw me in his shows and really just gave me a chance out there. And I owe everything to Jerry. Jerry's the greatest.
Yeah, real great man. And my family had the pleasure of going back with him many years working for him back in the day. I mean, the club's been around. I mean, Jerry made it 50 years, and God rest his soul, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. Margate is the joint. I mean, he had that place packed with all these young people. I was blown away. I was doing a show for Jerry at Golden Nugget, and it was myself, the Tramps, the Vogues, and Sonny Turner. And we were doing a show that night. I'll never forget, Saturday night. And Jerry said, "Hey, I'm leaving the show early. You should come out to my club. I'm DJing." And I looked at him like, what? Because Jerry's like 78 maybe at the time.
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean you DJing?" He said, "Yeah, I DJ till 4 a.m. I'm like, "You DJ till 4 a.m?" And I'm thinking, the Jerry crowd, in my opinion, was the 75 and up. So right. I'm thinking, wow, these people party. So I had to go check it out. And I get out to Margate for the first time, and Memories Margate, and I'm just blown away because 19 to 80 was in that club, packed. You couldn't get around you couldn't move. And I was just, and Jerry is spinning the wheels of steel all the way up to 4 o'clock in the morning. I hung with him. Gladys and I, it was amazing. And then I got a chance to meet you, and we surprised him on his birthday when I met you.
Yeah.
Because our birthdays is the same week. Jerry's, I believe, is July the 3rd, and mine was the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I got to go and surprise Jerry. So we flew in on the weekend that I met you and surprised him. So he wasn't expecting to see us. So it was kind of cool. And it was very sad that he had to go. And I miss him dearly.
Yeah, wonderful man. And I miss him dearly too, Bobby. And he was a great person to, I mean, he was just the whole personality and the charisma. I mean, was just like he said, just an entertainer. And you know what it's like in entertainment. And it just, for so many years, he touched so many decades of generations of people. And he he just his music and his personality. There'll never be another Jerry Blavin. I don't think so.
No, not at all. It's a era going by. I just hope that we can keep the music going. And I really hope as the seniors, and I don't know how to put this delicately, as the seniors in music start to transition over, that we can set it up where we can have the generation under them continue the music.
Right.
In other words, a passing of the wand.
Mhm.
And because all of us, we're here temporary. I mean, I'm really kind of hoping and praying that my boys jump into music, because I was a late bloomer. So I'm hoping they jump into music and keep it going, because both of my boys are talented in music. But they both are, they're suits, they work in corporate America, both of them.
Oh wow, God
So,
bless them.
yeah, so it's I'm just hoping that we can keep that music going and pass the wand down to the next generation, because it's a lot of kids that I've met since I've been in the business that love this music.
Yeah.
And because of the help of YouTube and the streaming services, they're able to listen to artists that they never heard before.
Right.
Yeah, so it's great that we can keep the music going. That's what Jerry wanted to do. That's what I want to do.
Absolutely. And I grew a passion for that music as well, just being around and younger, listening to it with my family, had it on, and Jerry so many years. I grew a passion for that music. So I definitely would love to keep that going. And that's, that music is timeless. That
Yes.
music, it's timeless. It doesn't get old. It's great music.
And music, whether you agree to this or not, music really soothes the soul. Absolutely. No matter what situation you're in, no matter whether you're in a wartime situation, which I have been in, or you just sitting at home with a glass of wine, music soothes the soul. We actually need it. And it's kind of funny that sometimes when things happen, music is the first thing that people get rid of, or entertainment is the first thing people say, okay, let's cut here. But entertainment is what needs to feed the soul as we go through life. So I hope we can, that's my hope and prayer, that we can keep it going.
Amen to that. Absolutely. And music's very therapeutic, and it brings people together. And that's what Jerry did for so many years. So Bobby, a little bit interesting. I mean, you had a little bit of an interesting story with yourself growing up. And as you know, a lot of people, your father was a legend and was very well respected in that industry, in the music, the Motown, R&B, soul. Great classics hits he had. But a little interesting on your end, and I guess you found out at a different later point in your life how everything unfolded. So if you want to explain that to the audience and a little bit about how you knew from a young age about your father.
Well, I got a movie out right now, a documentary called The Last Teardrop. And it basically tells my whole story from being raised in foster home to the Navy, and then my road to the discovery of Jackie Wilson. Everything happened to me happened by accident, because when I got out of the Navy, growing up, I grew up in the foster home. So I had a lot of medical issues. And I thank God that the foster home was there for me, especially my foster mother, because she really took care of me. And she had me in and out of the hospital from birth until I was about 16 years old. So I had to, just to make it real short, I had rickets at the bones, I had underdeveloped lungs and chronic asthma. So I was in and out. The doctors kept saying I wasn't going to make it as a kid. They had to break my legs to straighten my legs. They had to wear a cast for 3 years. I was Forrest Gump with the contraption. I wore that contraption till I was about 13 or 14, on my waist, from my waist down to my feet, weighted shoes, the whole 9 yards. So I went through a transformation as a kid, but I was in the foster home at the same time, which I didn't know was a foster home. I learned when I got older. And then from there, I joined the military. A lot of the reasons why I joined the military was I got married, and I also wanted to give back, because the state of South Carolina really, with their social programs in place, thank God they had them, I was healed. Had those social programs not been in place, I probably wouldn't be here. You probably wouldn't be talking to me, because I was just, I was in a bad way medically. But because they had all those social programs in place and the foster home, my mother was able to take me back and forth to the hospital in my early years, and I was able to get healed. So if you look at me now, you would never know the challenges I went through as a kid.
Right.
Even though people questioned me and said, "Man, you had a hard life." To me, it wasn't a hard life. It was my life. I played like a normal kid. I listened to music, which I'm gonna get into real quick, and then and I dealt with my disabilities along with being raised in a foster home. So none of that stuff dawned on me that I was living a hard life. It's just that was my life, and I made the best of it. It's almost like seeing a child, which I've seen children who have legs are amputated, but they're in the playground playing. They're not sitting there going, "Oh, I got amputated legs." No, they're making the best life they can for what they have.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't start realizing my life was different until I saw my birth certificate and realized I was a foster home when I was early teens. But because I had great parents, it didn't bother me. And then when I joined the Navy, my plan was to stay in the Navy for 30 years, retire fat, dumb, and happy. That didn't happen because then I started getting kidney stones. I had about 8 to 10 stones I passed. And when I started passing the stones, the Navy gave me a medical discharge. That's when my life transformed. Because when the Navy gave me a medical discharge, I started researching how I can heal myself because the neurologist, not the neurologist, my doctor for my kidneys couldn't do nothing for me. He told me I would have to suffer the pain and pass the stones. I had multiple bilateral stones in each kidney. Nobody could figure out how I got it. I discovered Chinese medicine, and I was able to get rid of all the stones without any operations and invasive nuts. I discovered Chinese medicine, which is 2,000 years old.
Wow.
Not 200.
That's amazing.
America's like 200 years old. Chinese is 2,000 years old.
Right.
So once I got with the Chinese, they were able to get rid of my stones, and I never suffered with kidney stones again. At the same time, I was living in Hawaii and hanging out with all the Hawaiians, and they got me into singing. A guy named Peter Hernandez from Brooklyn, New York, approached me and said, "Hey man, I got a doo-wop group. You got a great voice. Come join us."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know I was being offered a job. I thought it was just for fun because I was singing karaoke for fun.
Right.
I went and met these guys, seven young ladies and a little boy named Bruno. Bruno was playing Elvis. He was Peter's son, playing Elvis in the show. Mm-hmm. And then the seven guys, of course, were doing doo-wop and tributes to the greats like Little Anthony and the Imperials, and Dion DiMucci, and Bobby Rydell. They were doing all these tributes along with doo-wop. It was a great show. And then the girls would come and do that tribute to all the female singers. So I was like, wow, this is great. And they called me backstage and auditioned me, which I didn't know I was being auditioned. And that opened the door to music for me. I started working with the Love Notes. Working with that family, I fell in love with them because, like I said, I was going through a transformation. Not only did I get kicked out of the Navy, medically kicked out, but then I was going through a divorce with my first wife, and I had a little boy at the time, and it was a hard, dark time for me. Right. But I made it through with the music, and of course, the little boy was Bruno Mars, pop star now.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I never forget the first time I saw him. I told his dad, I said, "You got a little Michael Jackson on your hand." And he looked at me and smiled and said, "Yeah, that's my retirement plan." And it worked. And it worked. And I'm very proud of Bruno. I'm very happy for him because even at 6, 7 years old when I first met him, he knew what he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And for me to watch him actually grow into that producer, singer, songwriter, choreographer. I mean, the dude's bad, and he's always been that way. But to watch him grow into it, it's just amazing process. But anyway, I worked on and off that family until I started working for Legends in Concert, Paul Revere
Yeah.
of Paul Revere and the Raiders. He saw me with the Love Note show. They came to see Bruno
Right.
because they heard about this little Elvis. They had to come check him out. By that time, he was doing Michael Jackson, and we were the Jackson Five. We had a little Jackson Five skit, and so they came in, and Paul Revere stopped me. Said, "Hey, Whopper, you know who you look like?" And I was like, "Yep, I've heard it." Because the audience had by that time had started yelling, "You look like Jackie Wilson. Can you sing like Jackie Wilson?" And I was like, I'll never forget. I look at Bruno Mars's uncle. His name is Johnny Valentine. Look up Johnny Valentine online. It looks like a 60-year-old Bruno Mars.
Wow.
Anyway, Johnny looked at me and said, "You don't know who Jackie Wilson is?" I said, "Nope." He said, "Give me your brother card." Because, I grew up my mother was very religious, Southern Baptist. So she wouldn't play nothing but gospel music in our house.
Right.
But her oldest daughter, her only biological daughter, was my big sister. And she would play all the songs. Let me go back. When we were little, we weren't allowed to go to church because my mom said we wouldn't understand it. So she would make my big sister keep us. And it's like 10 kids in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a hi-fi stereo system. Now I'm dating myself. And we were the only ones in our neighborhood to have a stereo system. We were the only ones in our neighborhood to have a color TV. So I guess we had a little money and nobody else did. So all the kids were piled into our house on Sunday. It's like a sock hop. It was like being at Geeters. and my sister would play all the hits, all the
That's
Motown
awesome.
songs
Yep.
and everything you can think of on Sunday morning. We would have like a party while my mom's in church. When my mom went to church, she's in church all day. She
Right.
went to church at like 8 o'clock in the morning, didn't get home till 5 or 6 at night.
Wow.
So my sister partied and played all this music. So that's how I got a chance to hear the Jackson Five and the Motown Stars and Stack Records and all those guys because of her. But I never heard doo-wop. Not once until I met the Love Notes. Until I met Peter Hernandez, and that's when I got introduced to the whole world of doo-wop with the Elegance and with Little Star and all the groups. I just didn't know them. Mm-hmm. And then I started learning first tenor, second tenor parts, and music opened up to me. I fell in love with it and didn't realize this is what I really wanted to do. When you graduate from high school and you go into college and you're like, I don't know what the heck I want to do.
Exactly.
And I was there. And I went 1 year of college before I dropped out and joined the military. Mm-hmm. I know what the heck I wanted to do. And the first year I just partied, just like everybody else. University of South Carolina, they probably don't even remember I was there. And I just partied and it wasn't doing me no good. And my high school sweetheart wanted to get married, so we got married, and I joined the Navy because I said, okay, I have a job. Right. Which was a mistake. It was dumb because as soon as I joined the Navy, they sent me overseas, So, but it was a great move for me, worldly wise. So people started yelling, I look like Jackie Wilson. And finally, Paul said to me, I want you to do a tribute to Jackie Wilson in my Legends in Concert show. Right. And I remember I turned Paul down 3 times. I said, Paul, I'm not a tribute artist. They didn't call it tribute. They call it impersonator. I said, Paul, I'm not an impersonator. I'm an artist. At that time, I was writing songs for Columbia Records, working with a guy named Oliver Wendell. And he was a student of George Duke. So he had a good foothold in Columbia Records and 2 other labels. He was working with A&R, and he was pushing me. So I was very close to a deal back in when I first met Paul. Mm-hmm. So I was like, nah, man, I'm an artist. I don't impersonate nobody. And he goes, you don't know what you're talking about. And he grabbed me by the ear. I never forget. I was like, who the hell is this man? He grabbed me by the ear. He said, let me show you something. He took me to his car. He was moving into Hawaii because they just opened the show, Paul Revere and Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is the producer, the original producer of Legends in Concert out of Las Vegas. And so they were there and they were moving in. Paul had a house in Hawaii Kai, if you know anything about Hawaii, and he had this trunk full of stuff, and he said, "Come here." He takes me to the trunk, and he pulls out an album of Billy Ward Dominoes, and there's Jackie Wilson to the side, and he points at it and said, "Who's that?" And I was flabbergasted. I thought it was me in the picture. Right. It looked so much like me that I can even read the face. I can read his thoughts, and I was like, "Wow!" And that's the first time I got introduced to Jackie Wilson. From then on, it was a road to discovery because I worked for Legends for a few years, and then Paul decided to send me out to Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. And when he sent me to Atlantic City, that's when everything really started, because I was there at the Bally's Park Place working 2 shows a day, and I had no idea, but the Four Tops were in the building doing corporate shows. Nobody knew they were in there. So they were coming down and watching me every day. Mm-hmm. And they finally reached out to Jim Escher, who was the entertainment director at the time. Jim also used to be the sound man for Patti LaBelle. but Jim came to me during a break between the shows and said, "Hey, do you know the Four Tops?" I said, "Yeah, I love them." He says, "No, do you really know them?" I was like, "No, I don't really know." He said, "Good, they know you. They wanted you to come upstairs and meet them." Wow. And I went crazy, like, the Four Tops? I'm gonna get to meet the Four Tops. And I went up there, and Levi and Obie, Duke, and Lawrence Payton. I'll never forget. They all was standing there, and they're looking at me like I was some kind of ghost. And the first question they asked me was, "Are you being Bobby, or are you being Jackie right now?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Are you being Bobby, or are you being Jackie?" So I'm being Bobby. I wouldn't know what Jackie Wilson would be like off stage. Right. I said, I really don't know what he's like on stage. I'm guessing, because at the time there was no YouTube. Right. So there was no video out that I could get on Jackie Wilson. I found pictures, but that didn't give me who he was. Mm-hmm. So Paul Revere told me, I said, "Paul, I don't know what to do. The acts that they had in the show when they hired me was Michael Jackson, Madonna, Little Richard, the Blues Brothers, and Marilyn Monroe when they hired me." I said, "Paul, each one of the acts you got in the show, you can go to Blockbusters." I'm dating myself. And you can go to Blockbusters and get a video on them and study it. Yeah. I said, "But I've been to Blockbusters. There's nothing on Jackie Wilson. I've looked everywhere. I can't find nothing. How am I supposed to do a guy or portray a guy I can't even look up and find?" Mm-hmm. And Paul said, just do you." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you do you, you're doing Jackie." He says, "You don't know it, but you're exactly like him." He says, "I know the guy. I had him on my show Where the Action Is. I had him on, I was with him on different shows, and Paul started calling out shows I never heard of that Jackie Wilson was on, and he was on. So he says, what you don't know is you already like him. So just do you." And I never forget that advice, because then I forgot about him until YouTube came out. Yeah. And I still felt that the way people described Jackie Wilson to me, I felt like I still wasn't getting the true Jackie Wilson, because on the Ed Sullivan Show, they restricted his dancing. Really? So yeah, he couldn't dance the way I've met now. Since then, I've met everybody from dancers, backup singers, band members, family members, of course. Mm-hmm. And they said he was a lot more exciting than what they show on the videos, because the videos, he had to stay in one spot. Right. On Ed Sullivan's show, he couldn't bounce around and this and that like he normally does. So because of his boxing experience, he's very quick. He was lightning fast. So he can go from one side of the stage to the other so quick, it bewildered people. So I really didn't get, even when I started seeing some of the videos, it still didn't show what he really did in his live shows. Everybody tells me his live shows were just something you'll never forget. So anyway, I did that, and then once I met the Four Tops, they introduced me to the family, and it went from there, man. And I've been doing this now for a little over 20 years, you know, and one of my goals is keep Jackie's music alive, keep his memory alive. I tell people every day that I run across, I tell them, I said, hey, if I remind you of him, that's great. I'm not him. But if I remind you of him and it brings a happy memory, enjoy it, because his music was the best. Nobody sings like him. Nobody was like him, of course, including me. I do me. I do Bobby. But I do the best Bobby I can. And people who knew him, they said, well, you can't help it. Jackie comes out of you.
Yeah.
So that's very cool to hear that, you know, because that guy was an ultimate entertainer. He was a star's star. The stars loved him. He tells a story about Frank Sinatra, where him and his wife at the time, Harlene, went to see Frank Sinatra. And they sat in the front row and they watched the whole show. And Frank said, all right, thank you. And he's walking off stage and he comes back. He said, by the way, there's a young man sitting on the front audience, on the front seat. His name is Jackie Wilson. He's a great entertainer. Go see him. And he turns around, Frank walks off. He says, since that introduction, they couldn't get anybody in his showroom. It was too packed because Frank said, go see Jackie Wilson.
Wow.
So it's been a journey, bro.
That's an more remarkable, incredible story. And I mean, now, like, you know, your passion for music and just knowing that, you know, also too, that on your shoulders about, man, you look just like Jackie, you know, you sound like Jackie, and the memory of your father, it's just incredible, you know, and it's great. It's just that I've had the chance to listen to a lot of your work and your father's work, and Jerry always spoke very highly and played it at Memories, and it was some good stuff. But it's really amazing too, like that you're able to carry on, like you said, you're Bobby, but you're able to, if that reminds people of the memory of what he once was, that's also pretty neat as well. We actually do have under like a little bit under 8 minutes here. I know this time flies, but I want to talk about your movie a little bit, like you said, The Last Teardrop, and some places where you'll be performing. You know, on your schedule, on your tour schedule, that we can talk about, and how we can come see you, or people can get tickets and stuff like that.
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, bobbywilsonmusic.com. That's the easiest way to go. My schedule's on there. Just hit in concert. I'm working with a group of people. We're working everywhere, the Coda Band and the Chicklets. We are working pretty much everywhere you can think of. I have a few cruise ships with Royal Caribbean. Yay, Royal Caribbean. And the audience, I love the audience of Royal Caribbean, because I got from 5-year-old kids all the way up to 90-year-old adults. And the shows just goes over very well. And it's just great to see the children watching live music. We got to push that more, because it's great they go see Taylor Swift and Bruno Mars and all that, but they really need to go see the Broadway shows. They need to go see the smaller production shows, because I think music really adds to life. It really adds a different flavor to life that you don't know. And to watch these kids come in and watch our shows and their response after, television can't give them that. Video games can't give them the excitement they get. I literally have kids come up to me and just trembling. I'm your fan. I'm your fan, and I think that's just healthy. I think it's great that they get a taste of live music, and I don't want that. And I'm afraid sometimes that live music is going, because now, people, not knocking them, but you got Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and those tickets are $800. They're up there. They're not like for when I was growing up. I saw Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
I think the tickets was $7.
Different.
And I saw Earth, Wind and Fire as a preteen. My sister took me. I didn't even know who they were. I was too young, but she took me, and I saw they had 2 drummers, they had 2 bass players, they had a big old horn section, and these guys were killing it.
Wow.
And that impressed me so much that I had to go and learn how to play piano, because I saw that.
Right.
I saw Earth, Wind and Fire in their heyday. And so I think children need that. They need to see other than video games and movies and digital world. They need to see live people performing, singing,
Absolutely.
dancing, playing instruments, and hopefully it moves their soul and it takes them in a direction they never thought they'd go. As you can see, I'm very passionate about the kids.
Yeah. And that's important too, because you want to be able to, maybe like the generation that we grew up in, or we once knew, or what our parents taught us at some point in our lives.
Mhm.
And you want to make sure that those kids are still kind of are able to understand those passions and understand those things. Like you said, it's a perfect example about staying off the streets, staying off the video games, keeping a clear head. All those things are so important. And it's good for the youth to understand that, and I think it's amazing what you're doing and your beliefs with the children, the music. And I think that's really important. And, it's great that you're able to push and drive that forward, that's awesome.
So I want to throw this tag in. And if you want to get more information about the movie, just go to thelastteardrop.com and that will take you directly to the website, and it'll have a list of where the showings are. We're playing at the AMC theaters. And we also, the next premiere is going to be in Las Vegas on September the 21st, 7 p.m., red carpet at 6. And we're doing a showing. And after the movie, it'll be a Q&A. I'll be there to answer any questions. Most of the questions are about foster care. We're pushing aging out of foster care like that, like I did. I aged out and where I was at mentally when I aged out. So hopefully my message as far as foster care is concerned is that you can make a life for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is tough not knowing who your parents is, and it was a song that came out when I was a kid called "Love the One You With."
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the foster kids, me included, we dream about who our parents are. Yeah. And then we make up these super parents, and then when we finally figure out who our parents is, either if we're lucky to find out who our parents is, we're probably disappointed, or they're not who we thought we were. And we waste time throwing away the love that the people who took us in are giving us. We throw that away. We discount that. I don't think we do it by accident. I think it's human nature.
Yes.
Yeah. But if we can love the people that's loving us and then love ourselves, we're going to be okay. And that's my message. Yeah. Love the ones that love you. Don't worry about the ones that don't know nothing about you. Don't worry about the ones who don't care nothing about you, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the haters. Just love the ones you're with. Love the ones who love you. And a little bit step further, love the ones that are against you too.
Yeah.
The greatest commandment is love ye one another as you love yourself. If you do that, you'll get through this world a lot easier than carrying a chip on your shoulder. You carry a chip on your shoulder, you make life hard for yourself.
Yeah, that's
it.
That's a great valid point. Love the ones you're with, love the ones that love you. That's an unbelievable message, and that's so true. And you found that within yourself as you grew in your career, as you grew to know all about your family life, and now what you do for a passion and what you love, and you're carrying on not only a giant legacy that was before you, but you're carrying on your own legacy, and you made a great name for yourself. So that's a really remarkable story, Bobby, and we're looking forward to that movie, The Last Teardrop. And also Bobby Wilson Music on Instagram. If you guys, if you have an Instagram page, you want to search all Bobby's content, you can see him on there as well for all his updates and all his announcements. And we will, and also the website, like you said, Bobby. Bobby
Wilson Music. Yeah, yep. Everything is Bobby Wilson Music. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. So
I look forward to coming out to a few of your shows. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, man.
Get it out.
Sounds good, Blake.
So, listen, I want to thank you again for coming on. And I know it was a quick show. I'd love to have you on again in the future, and we can discuss more. And maybe when you're on the East Coast, also we can do like an in-person meeting as well.
Well, let me throw this out there for all you house music fans. Go to Spotify and listen to my song.
Yep.
Are you ready? All you house music fans, house music. I got another one coming out, rolling out after this one. Right now, Are You Ready is out.
Couple seconds, Bobby. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, Stand Up for Love. Go for it.
Thank you, Bobby, so much. This is New Talk 1492.3 WOND. I will see you all next week on the Big Men's Report Live. Bobby, thank you again and take care. Look forward to doing this again in the future.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, my friend.